Hi, I'm Chris with AerWay. We're going to shoot a video today on changing a single tine, give you a few pointers on changing all your tines when it comes to that time. I blocked off the rollers so that the tine's not turning around on me. The tools I like to use: 3/4 inch socket, 3/4 inch wrench, a torque wrench, and a breaker bar. I've got my hardware and my tine ready, and we're going to go at it. Alright, what I like to do is I like to take out the hardware of the tine that I'm taking and changing, and sometimes that'll be enough to get the tine out, sometimes it won't. Usually if need be, you can always take out or loosen the bolt ahead and the bolt behind the affected tine, and that's usually enough to get your tine out. Now the other thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to check your holes, make sure that they're not egging out or elongating. You won't get your tine tight and you'll have loosening issues in the future if you don't do that. The other thing I want to do is take out all debris from in between the tines to prevent any loosening or improper tightening of the tine. So once I've cleaned that all up, then I'm ready to go ahead and put in my new tine. I've got new hardware. Now I did bring extra hardware along in case I took the front and the rear bolt or had to loosen them, but since I didn't, I'm not going to bother changing that. I'm going to tighten it to 90 foot-pounds. And then according to our hardware, we're going to give it a half a turn. There's 1/4. There's a half. And there is the tine changing if you're out in the field and you've got a broken tine. This is what the rollers look like after they've been welded, but before they get tined. All the AerWay rollers would have a solid welded on ring and a floating or clamping ring. This happens to be for a 35mm bearing unit with the threads on the end. When it gets shipped with or without tines as a replacement part, it would have a new nut on the end, as we recommend changing that, as well as we want to protect the threads during transport. Here we have a couple rollers that are tined now, ready to be painted. Just some things that you want to remember when you go to retine your rollers. All the rollers on an AerWay have a helix to them, whether they're left or right, and what position they're found on the AerWay, inner or outer wing, inner or outer center frame. So keeping that helix is something that you want to do. Now, I usually like to take one row at a time off and put the tines back in the same place. The other thing that you can do, sometimes it'll save time, and sometimes you'll need to cut off the tine hardware because there's not enough of an edge left to get a wrench on them. So if that's the case, what you want to do before you start cutting off all the hardware and all the tines start coming off is you're going to want to mark where the tines were or a start of a helix so that you can be sure to get them back on the right position. Otherwise you might get things like wrapping or packing of stalks and things like that. The tine helix is really easy to see when you put a straight edge up against the back edge of the tines. You can just see the curve to it, and that helps keep them rolling smoothly through the field. So those are just some things that you want to keep in mind when you're retining your machine. Also, for people who have older machines that have weld-on tines, we don't offer weld-on tines anymore. However, for any of the machines that were originally produced as a weld-on tine, if you want to upgrade them, you are able to buy new rollers that are bolt-on rollers and would make your AerWay more current. Again, model and serial number will help us identify which rollers you need for your unit.